Welcome to a homegrown family podcast where we grow the produce and the kids.
Hey everybody, welcome to a homegrown family podcast. I'm your host, Joe Mettler, and we got quite the crew here today. So we got four Mettlers, 3 generations worth, right?
Yeah.
So we got my grandpa Tom, my dad Randy, and my brother Sam here today with you guys to talk a little bit about maple syrup. It's that time of the year, and it wasn't too long ago that Dad's like, "Oh, I got Grandpa's, still, or the wood burner to be able to do the sap with. What do you call it? It's not still, is it?
No, just an old wood stove.
Yeah, old wood stove. Anyways, so I was like, "Wait, what? Grandpa used to do maple syrup?" And so,
on an old wood stove.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Grandpa. We're gonna kind of talk to you a little bit first, but we'll get into Sam here shortly, because he kind of gave it a go this year.
Talk about my failures.
Yeah. So, Grandpa, when did you start maple syrup, and how did it come about?
Oh, jeez. Well, when we moved up in this country, these were these maple trees. So what do you do with them? You make maple syrup.
He come from South Dakota where there were basically no trees.
There weren't no maple trees in our country back in South Dakota.
No trees.
So is that something you did shortly after moving up this way?
Yeah,
or?
I think we started probably pretty quick. We just cooked for our own pleasure. I think I think first we probably just cooked it in a pan in the house maybe or something.
I think so, yeah.
And then I got smart and I cut the top off an old kitchen stove and used the oven for a wood box and set the pans on there. And then I really got high tech and got this old wood stove we had. And we must have cut the outside off of that too, because you can set the pans right on the stove now. Mm-hmm. And that was our latest invention. It worked pretty good.
And that's what Dad's currently using.
Randy inherited that now.
So you really didn't do a whole lot of big batches of things. It was always just kind of a gallon here, a gallon there.
Yeah, it was just enough to keep you busy and aggravate you. And
yeah, well, we were talking last night a little bit with Dad here too. Or even like on some Facebook feed, I saw somebody's doing like 20,000 gallons in 24 hours. And I'm like, holy cow. And Dad was talking about how someone local here does, 20 gallons a day or something like that. 120, yeah. A little bit of some reverse osmosis setup, and basically like pre-filter it out so that way you have to spend less time boiling it, the sap down and stuff and things. But so you grew up having your own maple syrup in your fridge.
Oh, it wasn't all the syrup we had, by any means, I'm sure. We probably had pancakes every weekend.
That's you got to go buy some anyway.
Oh, I'm sure they bought syrup, yes.
We go through quite a bit of the homemade stuff. Sophia and Nora seem to do a lot of the pancakes on the weekends or days that they both have off and not going to daycare. So we've probably gone through a gallon or so more this year, I think, of the maple syrup that Dad's been brewing.
Joe's been the main beneficiary.
Yeah. I was really hoping to get in there this year and kind of tap some with you, but it didn't quite pan out. So Dad's basically just finished up. He's working on cleaning the equipment and putting it away for the winter or for the year, And but for those of us who don't know, because I haven't really been a part of the process, I've seen it done, I think, when I was in 4-H one time. We got a tour of some place or something like that. But yeah. Why don't you go ahead, Dad, and talk a little bit more about the process, if there's specific names for tools and things that you go about. Like, let's start to finish, kind of, what does it look like? Grandpa go first. Back then it had to have been a little different, right?
Start to finish, you pour the sap in a pan, you start cooking, and when it looks right, you taste it, and if it tastes as good, it's done. Simple.
Easy peasy. What?
You forgot the part about tapping the trees.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, start there.
Well, we take a drill. Nowadays you have a cordless drill to take out there, so it's just a matter of 5 seconds and you have yourself a hole. Tap the tap in and put the hose in the bucket and wait for the right weather.
Grandpa kind of made the motions there. You used to have like the hand crank, drill that you probably use to start.
Of course, I think first. Randy, he's got more modern too. He's got a battery one.
Oh yeah, that's right there.
Sound effects, please.
Hold on.
We're all hearing this one.
Yeah. We're over in the cider room, we call it. It used to be the old milk parlor. And because all the nieces and nephews and everybody are over in the house, so we had to find a quiet place to record this thing. So we got some saws hanging up here and stuff too, because we butcher process some of our own meat and everything. And we got trays, and Dad's got all the sap making stuff on the stainless steel counters and stuff and things. So, is there any specific type of tap? Like, you can go buy a maple syrup tap, quote unquote, or can you literally just like grab a bamboo and just stick something like that in there, half cut bamboo, so it's a half circle here and kind of drain out? Is that similar diameter as your drill bit? Is that good enough?
I guess it would work.
I think we used milk stanchion.
Oh, yeah, you did. The old milk when you had...
Pipeline milker.
Yeah?
Them pet cocks. We use them.
Huh, I can't quite picture it, but...
Well, they're a metal thing with a valve on top.
Yeah.
That's where the vacuum comes for the milking. That was before you had the pipeline. So you hook a hose up to that to milk the cow with suction, and you can turn that valve on and off. So you just drill a hole in the tree and pound that in there. Yeah, you drill a hole in the tree, and you got sap running out immediately.
Right, so it's anything that can kind of help direct the sap a little bit, so it's going into a pail or something hanging, or sitting on the ground.
There's people these days that set up plastic piping to a central location from a bunch of trees.
Yeah, well, you talked about doing that in a patch out here by our house.
It's a nice downhill spot.
Just gravity feed all the one big barrel. Of course, you almost have to go straight into the boiler, almost.
No.
Yes, there was fire pit out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a shack up.
So Dad's got some plastic jugs that he kind of sets down next to the trees and kind of lets it flow into there through some plastic tubing, basically.
Those jugs will fill up in one day if you have good sap flow. I
didn't do any previous research here for this episode or anything, so it's kind of a hodgepodge put together thing here. But I was gonna say, do you know how much maple syrup, or maybe not how much syrup from the tree will come out in a day from one given tree?
Those taps that we put on will give us 2 gallons most days, on a good day.
So you don't catch them overflowing too often?
They did overflow on us a couple times this year, but just a little bit, I think.
It's probably dependent on tree size also.
I'm sure there's a lot of variables. I tapped a couple trees this year. I got nothing out of it.
Oh, really?
And then I moved the tap to a different spot in the tree, filling up.
Huh. So you think that's just a matter of getting into the phloem versus the xylem or something?
Or it's a matter of it's a part of the tree that's dying that you hit.
I'm not sure exactly where the sap comes from. I mean,
it comes in this first quarter, half
the
inch.
The phloem goes up and the xylem goes up and down? It doesn't really matter. I
am not a botanist.
It's been a hot minute since
stuff that goes up.
Yeah.
When it's warm, it goes up. When it cools off, then it goes back down, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you want the temperature to go below 30 at night.
Oh, so the time this happens, it's a little early this year, right?
Well, it was about right. Same time as normal this year, pretty much. It's just whenever you get where the temperatures are fluctuating between 20 and 40 is a good time to do it.
Over here in central Minnesota. I don't know if it's a very popular thing to do other places of the country. Probably not if you don't get cold and warm.
Maine.
Right? Yeah, Maine.
Maine, Vermont.
Yeah. Maine, like northern
northern
climates and
climates.
stuff. Yeah, you see it in Vermont. Yeah, all those eastern states have that persona, right? It's kind of a popular thing over there. Yeah. One of the new things that I guess not new, but one of the things that Sam decided to try out then was he's like, hey, I got some maple trees in my yard. Let's give it a go. So how was your experience with that?
No, I came to the farm 3 weeks, a month ago, and Lawrence and Dad were going around tapping trees, trying to figure out that stuff. And I'm like, this is something Sebastian and I can do. Sebastian, he's my 5-year-old son. Give him something to do with me, little father-son bonding time. I live in town. The only trees that I have are maple trees. So I have 3 silver maples and then 1 red maple. And the 3 silver maples, they're massive. And I'm like, they got to have good sap that runs out of them. No, the silver maples were like nothing. And the smaller red maple that I had in my front yard, sap just oozing out because there was already cracks in some of the branches and there was just sap coming down already.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I even put 2 taps on that tree because I'm like, it's just leaking. I might as well just put 2 taps on it. So that was my tapping experience. We just bought a kit from Fleet Farm, a bag kit, because they're all out of buckets because everybody's doing it. They're all out of just the bags and tubing. So I had to buy a more expensive kit, I did bags. Dad does the buckets. I've seen people on the mail route do just 10 buckets, and all sorts of different ways you can just tap the tree. And
Yeah, well, I don't see it much around Fargo, so.
No.
It's been a hot minute. I know my in-laws, Nora's sister, has quite a few maples in their property, and I think one day they're going to hopefully try to get that going over there. So you pretty much cook it on your oven.
Yeah, we cooked it on our stove. Now, the tapping part you can't really mess up, but the cooking part you can mess up. It's hard to, but it can be achieved. So we just start boiling the sap on high, and then once it gets to a certain point, you can just keep adding more sap, and then it gets down to the syrup. And once it hits like 215 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe that's when it's like qualifies as syrup. Like, it's like, that's the sweetness level. But it was at like 213, and I was like, I'll just do it a little bit more. And I let it go too far, and it started crystallizing. Crystallizing might be the hard word, but it started, turning more into honey type texture, and then so now it's more of like a maple syrup spread, which works well for us because we don't use syrup all that often.
There you go, maple toast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad will take the old transfigured, wood boil or wood stove, and he'll start there sometimes, and then once it gets down a little farther, he'll bring it into the oven inside, and Mom will kind of finish it off, right?
Yeah, we don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
You can't control it very well with wood heat.
Well, you sent me a picture the other day of and I'll post this picture too on the Instagram at a homegrown fam. Picture of it on the counter there with a couple different batches that you did. Some were lighter colored, some were darker colored. What influences that?
I'm not sure. Margaret may have cooked it down a little further, that batch, the one that was really dark. But we had one batch we took directly off the wood stove, and all we did was heat it up in the house and can it, because it was done. We don't go so much by temperature in ours. It's supposed to be 40-1, right?
41's the ratio. 41.
40 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of syrup.
Okay.
And so we start a batch out in the stove with about 15 gallons. Fill it up way to the tippy top, it'll get 15 gallons. So at the minimum, I put in 10 gallons to start out with, and I add 10 more gallons over the course of the next day. It takes us about 36 hours to get it down to about a gallon or less, and then we take it to the house to finish it off.
Okay.
So we get about a half a gallon to, a little more than that out of each batch.
Okay.
So we don't try to get it all the way down to that last little bit, because it's a pain when it turns into sugar. Especially if you don't catch it right away and it coats your pan. And
I heard it's a finicky thing. It's kind of can turn pretty quickly on you.
Oh, the first batch we did, it was sitting there. We had it on low, bubbling, and all of a sudden we got sugar. Left for like 15 minutes.
It boils over quite easy too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't cook it very fast. We don't cook it very fast at all.
That's a good way to get in trouble with your wife.
Uh-huh.
Get that all over the oven?
Sure.
Yeah.
After that first batch, the Margaret didn't want to cook it inside. No, we'll just cook it inside really slow.
Oh, funny. You didn't have any other experiences, Sam? Tips for somebody who might just be trying it out.
Oh, there is the straining thing too.
Oh, yeah. Filtering.
You want to filter it after you take it off the stove before you get down to your final sugar. Otherwise you'll have a bunch of junk in the bottom of your jar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Just some of the sugars that kind of burnt off a little bit more? Or
well, it's just, when you take the sap off, you'll have like bark or bugs be in the pail too. You need to filter all that out.
You'll get a couple things fall in your pail.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. So basically when you hit that nice point of where you think you have your syrup, then you strain it? Or do you strain it before?
A little before that, because you don't want to waste the good syrup.
So maybe when you go from the wood...
Usually when we go from the wood burner to the inside, then you
strain it quick while it's still kind of runny and easily strainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, gosh, that's going to be a bugger to strain.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay. Have you been using that stainless steel one for straining?
Is that strain there? No, we use milk filters.
I'll use the milk filter. A little bit more fine, I suppose.
Yeah, it plugs up.
I'm surprised you can still buy them.
I bought 2 boxes the other day just in case they discontinue them.
Yeah, hopefully they don't, but I suppose there's enough people milking their home.
You would hope
their
so.
home cows and stuff making their own milk that you think would buy those filters. But I don't know any other.
Yeah, with the tips.
Yeah.
I guess when you start boiling right away, it's basically water, so you don't have to watch it near as much. But yeah, when you get down to the point where you got, I kind of went by temperature, but I was also going by color, because I'm like, I want it to be darker. And that darkness has nothing to do with when it is done, because that's how I got it, overcooked in that way.
Most of this year's was pretty light colored. I talked to some more experienced people too, and it was lighter colored this year.
So some part of the environmental factors or stresses on the trees or something have an impact on that, or moisture going into the fall. It's pretty dry fall.
Dry fall,
yeah. So maybe that had a factor to do with it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just watch, because when I was down there, I was just stirring the whole time, temperature wise. It didn't feel quick for me when it turned. I was just dumb enough to let it go farther. Like, I could have stopped if I went on. And like, I don't know, Andy was reading Laura Ingalls, and they talk about making maple sugar. So obviously they just like cooked it all the way down at some point, or like that's just what they had left on the bottom. And that's what the kids ate. So no matter what, you can make use out of if it goes too far down.
Unless you stick it to your pan.
Would it be like a peanut brittle kind of texture? Yeah. So then after that, you can put it through a grinder and coarse grind it into like a coffee ground style. And
I suppose.
You
get fancy with it.
That's maple candy. Yeah, maple candy. I try to, for some reason I just made me think about this, but I have a batch of cider in my basement right now that I back sweetened with brown sugar. And I was thinking to myself, well, usually I do like a pound of sugar to a 5-gallon batch. And I was like, well, this bag was 2 pounds of brown sugar. But I'm like, well, it's lighter and fluffier, right? Well, I put the whole 2 pounds in. Oh. And then I taste tested it after I stirred it in. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like drinking molasses over here. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But it could taste, I mean, I didn't mind the taste, but it was pretty sweet. Grandma would like it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess too for people that have like silver maples, it probably isn't even worth it.
I would
tap them half the
silver
time.
Maples.
Like if you have a red maple,
so maybe identify your tree first before you.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you off the hand what the identifying characteristics are.
Silver maple has just more branchy. Also, the bark is different too.
The bark is more smooth.
Right. So you look it up, Google it, it'll tell you.
Or if you have no tap, I mean, it doesn't hurt the tree that much to tap it to see if you get sap. It's not like you're going to kill the tree off one tap.
So, I got a couple questions. How far do you drill in or tap? I mean, I suppose certain taps have a limitation of how far it can go in, but do you drill in deeper so that way you get the whole entire tree to go down fluid-wise? Or
I don't think you need to go in very far. I usually go about
2 inches. You just want to get to the park.
And about an inch. My kit said no more than 2.
No more than 2.
Oh, so he had a kit, so he has.
Yeah, my kit was telling me what to do. I mean, I knew it wasn't.
I just go by hoochie coochie.
If you have sap running out right away, you don't need to go any further. It should happen pretty quick after you drill.
Yeah. If it's that time of year.
Yeah. True.
Okay. And then do you need to worry about putting the plug back in? Or like, I suppose you don't have to plug, like, putting some sawdust over top or for insects or bugs or pests or anything?
I don't know. You probably don't have to worry about it too much. Like,
I don't know what you'd fill in.
Sometimes you can like put a container if you really want to, if you're just doing a small thing, just to swirl around the inside hole before you put the thing in.
No, I was thinking about for sealing it up.
Sealing it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets cuts and stuff all the time, a tree, and it has healing properties that can just seal it up something eventually.
Cork itself up, I'm sure. Okay, just curious.
One thing they talk about with these guys that do it a lot, they'll tap the tree here with this year, and then next year they'll move over a little bit. You can see where the old hole was. Mm-hmm. You just keep on moving around the tree so you don't tap the same spot every time.
Eventually you kind of, I'm assuming once you tap it, you're also preventing the flow of that cambium phloem where that scar tissue is going to be.
It probably doesn't flow as well there anymore.
So I imagine if you probably go all the way around the tree, you'd probably eventually...
Well, you don't do it, 6 inches apart or something. Don't do it right there.
But you must have so many years you can do it on one tree, and then it must be kind of hit your cap. I don't know either. I don't know how long maple tree farms can go.
Resilient. Otherwise, I think they'd stop doing it or tell people to be more cautious by this point. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, if you're only going the first 2 inches, there's plenty of cellular tissue the rest of the whole tree.
Yeah,
that's true.
How do you guys know when to stop tapping or like to stop syrup coming out?
Actually, when you stopped, you said it was the tree was budding.
Yeah,
but when the leaves start to bud, you're supposed to stop.
So when they start swelling, when the buds start swelling, then
does the sap change color too? I feel like I've heard people say that the sap will change color.
It probably turns milky or something.
I don't know, Grandpa. Got anything else to add?
I'm out.
What do you guys like to use your syrup for besides pancakes?
I don't know. You can use it for most anything if you want sweetening.
I know we've used it in some recipes for, we like make our own homemade coffee creamer, and that'll call for some syrup.
Yeah, it's mostly just putting it in coffee or just whenever you want something sweet, oatmeal.
I use it to make the kids come around, bake for syrup.
It's definitely like a good homesteading thing that like doesn't cost very much if you want to
Right.
start doing something with your kids or
a couple $100 to start up, maybe. With some,
not even. My kit was $40 for 3 trees, 4 trees.
oh, there's a kit for like 3-4 trees.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Well,
you get 2 gallons a day out of 4 trees.
If you're buying your firewood or your fuel, it does add up, though.
Oh, yeah.
I go through a lot of firewood on that.
That's true. Some people go through firewood. Some people will put on a propane burner on the bottom of their pans or things like that. And then they got the reverse osmosis that we talked about a little bit. It's kind of just like a way of filtering out some of the solids, I think, from your actual water. And then so you can reduce your boil time. But you talked about one of your friends did this Strika.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't he have he boils every year, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he sits there and has like a big boiler. I don't know how much his gallons his holds, but he remembers he had to stay up all night and feed it wood, because otherwise it would.
He usually has a sap boiling party.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can imagine that.
A couple batches the whole night. And
I can get up once or twice during the night and keep my fire going.
oh, you do get up once or twice to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you have it. A little bit of multi-generational syrup. I can call it multi-generation, even 3-generation now since Sam did a little bit.
He doesn't count, really.
I'll probably keep doing it.
I was just thinking that sounds kind of fun. Well, hopefully I'll get out there next year, Dad, and join the fun a little bit, and rather just can eat in the benefit.
You might as well get a couple more taps so we can get a little more done.
That's true. We have a lot of trees you can do.
We have a lot of trees we could tap.
True. Well, we're barely keeping, or we're kind of, for the most part, producing as much as we go through, for the most part, right?
I didn't do it 2 years ago. But last year I did.
So you're almost like an every 3rd year cycle?
No, every other kind of. But this year I did
Skip
2
every
gallons
third
worth,
year.
so there's a little extra this time. I
Okay.
haven't done 2 gallons before.
2 gallons is what you got total for syrup.
A little more than that.
And then you put them in pint jars. And
Yeah.
Perfect. Sweet. All right. Well, thank you guys all for sitting out in the cider room. Kind of a little chilly in here. We're all coats and bundled up. But, we thought it was going to be spring, but we knew it was going to be a false spring because it's still only March. Almost April. But anyways, stay tuned for some more farm stories in the future. Again, you can check out the Instagram at a homegrown fam on the Instagram, and then a homegrownfam at gmail.com if you want to email me any questions or have any comments or concerns, but maybe no concerns, but anyway. I was waiting for a funny joke from somebody, but nobody said anything.
I worked on it, but I thought better of it.
Fair enough. Please rate the podcast and check out the show notes. You can hit the link below that says support the show if you'd like. Yeah, have a fun one. See you around.